Okay, so getting back into our coverage over the X-Men, we're going to pick up with Uncanny X-Men issue number 331. Now, with this issue right here is really more of kind of setting up some things to come down the road, but also kind of wrapping up some loose ends as well, especially when it comes to Bobby Drake. And you see what I mean as we go through today's video. But as we get into the opening pages for today's storyline, we do pick up with some members of X-Force. That will be Warpath and also Shatterstar. Now, these two characters, they're currently checking in on Beast. And the reason why, because there was a small explosion in his lab. And apparently Beast was working on the Legacy virus. Now remember, this is not our Hank McCoy. This is Dark Beast from the Age of Apocalypse reality pretending to be our Beast at the moment. And so right now, for the X-Men, they're kind of like, you do sound different. You do look a tad bit different, but at the same time, you still kind of seem like our Beast. But in reality, it's Dark Beast. And they don't know that just yet. But now we have to transition over to Emma Frost. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics for Emma, she was really a teacher more. Her and Banshee had opened up a second school of Charles Xavier where they're now teaching the next generation of mutants, better known as Generation X. Now, for Emma, she does go over to her company office. And when she walks into her office, well, she's then confronted by Bobby Drake. Now, this is Marvel trying to wrap up the loose ends when it comes to Bobby and also Emma Frost. And the reason why I'm saying that because there was an earlier storyline where her mind was in his body. But while being in his body, she had discovered how powerful he truly is. And the problem is Bobby is just lazy when it comes to learning his full potential of his ability. And so for Bobby, it's him coming to her like, I need your help to learn what I can really do with my ability. But for a brief moment, we have to jump over to Bishop, Gambit, Charles Xavier, and also Archangel. Now, technically Bishop and also Gambit at first, because it's the two characters right now still trying to work things out with one another. And the reason why, because for Bishop, in his future, there's only one person still alive when it came to the X-Men, and that was Gambit, better known as the Witness, because he saw the one person who had betrayed the X-Men, which of course led to the X-Men dying in Bishop's future. And so for Bishop, it's kind of like, I don't truly trust you, but at the same time, I don't really have a choice here because we're technically teammates. But that's kind of put on the back burner very quickly because we shift our focus over to Charles Xavier and also Archangel. Now, in an earlier storyline for Bessie Braddock, she was severely injured by Sabretooth. Now, thanks to Wolverine and also Archangel, they saved her life by using the Crimson Dawn. Now, with all that being said, is Archangel and kind of Psylocke moving away from the X-Men for a short period of time to get a rest. But also for Charles Xavier, he's kind of like, I don't know really much about the new X-Men. I know my old students like Cyclops, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, the ones he actually taught. But the new ones like Bishop and Gambit and even Psylocke, he's kind of like, I don't know much about these people at all, truthfully. Now, for Bobby Drake, when it comes to him and Emma, the reason why he's so upset with Emma because she told him like, hey, I will help you learn more about your ability. But the problem is she hasn't done that yet. And so for Bobby, he's kind of like, you have not been there for me when it came to me learning more about my ability. But the problem is for Emma, it's more of like, no, you have to learn by yourself at first so that I could then figure out how to help you. And so for Bobby, he kind of shows what he's able to do now. Like, for example, freezing her blood inside her body. But on top of that, he also shows his injury that he had received in our last video when it came to him and some others fighting against a character known as Post. And really, speaking of posts, you have Cyclops and Jean Grey try to figure out where that battle took place, because in our last video for the X-Men team, at least, when they were taken away by Post, they had no idea where they went to. And so for Cyclops and Jean Grey, really more Cyclops, he believes he figured out where they were taken to. But it's also these two characters kind of realizing that they might have some big problems coming down the road when it comes to dealing with Post, but also his master. And his master is Onslaught, this powerful being who might be the end for the entire world. Now, the ending of the storyline is really more of Emma Frost trying to explain things to Bobby. Like, listen, for you to be able to kind of learn more about your ability, you have to fully understand your potential with your ability. Like, look at you. You already realize that you could freeze someone's blood inside their body, but you have the potential to do so much more. And so for Bobby, the reason why he came here, because there's a hole in his chest right now, and he's afraid to turn back into his human form and possibly die. But for Emma, she keeps saying, just turn back to normal. Just do it. But for Bobby, he's kind of like, if I do it, I will die. But after a while, he begins to believe her. He begins to realize she's trying to help him, but she's playing the hard game at the moment. And so once you have him realize and turn back into his human form, he is completely healed up. And she's all like, listen, I want to be there for you like I was for my students in the past, the Hellions who died in the past. And so I want to make sure I'm there for you. And so for Bobby, it's him beginning to discover that Emma Frost will be there. But at the same time, he has to try himself to learn more about his own ability. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.